Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here. Want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Walker Texas Lawyer. If you or a loved one have been injured in an accident, whether that be a car, truck, motorcycle accident, or some kind of other issue, hit up Walker Texas Lawyer at 713-552-1117 or walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Jessica Alba and Lizzie Mathis. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Kevin Costner joins us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad, and good morning to you. How are you?
George Lopez joins us right now. George, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What lovely to talk. You me funny lad.
Megan Trainor.
Thank you so much, Brad. You're awesome.
Chloe Bailey joins us. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate you.
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
Brad Gilmore! Simon, thanks so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the movie.
No problem. Nice to meet you, Brad.
You as well. First off, let me pay you a compliment. Love the film. Love the majority of your films that I've seen. And this one is added to that pantheon. Just really great action, great balance of the comedy. So congratulations on really pulling this one off.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it comes down to the cast, really. You put Christoph Waltz, Lucy Liu, and Cooper Hoffman together. Hopefully something great is going to happen because we had a great script. I knew that to start with, and I mean, I think that's obviously what attracted the cast. But it was exciting to put them together because everybody loves Christoph. He's like a master of his craft. He's done amazing movies, and he's great with humor, even though he's normally this stiff put together character. In this one, he's completely opposite. He's like he's a 60-year-old trying to be a 30-year-old, still going to clubs, still partying, drinking too much, hanging out with women, and does not want to give up his youth. And but his body's letting him down. He can't shoot straight anymore. His and as a hitman, that's a disaster. So along comes Cooper Hoffman, who plays the Gen Z new guy in town that he's supposed to teach. And these two obviously hate each other to start with because can you imagine this guy from the 90s basically who still drives a 90s car? He dresses like he's in the 90s, and to him it is the 90s. And then a Gen Z guy comes along and is better than he is, and doesn't drink, doesn't eat wheat, exercises, has all just drinks water, has all these sort of health regimes. It's Christoph's character is the worst nightmare, and but of course that's where the fun comes, is those two kind of sparring, and Lucy Liu's sort of in the middle between them, sort of refereeing a lot of the time and trying to explain to one why they need to listen to the other one, because they both got something to offer. So it's a fun, film with, it's a road movie basically where these three go on the road in Christoph's old 90s Jag car, and along the way they do hits, and but they could be like traveling salesmen or anything like that. They don't. It's not necessarily have to be a hitman to have these conversations they're having. They're just normal conversations we all have about growing old and living life to the full, or whatever your life regime is. And on the side of it, they're doing these sort of completely illegal, exciting hits. So it's that's what the film's about, really. It's a fun road movie.
No, and that comes through, and I think you hit the nail on the head where it doesn't. Them being hitman is it's a fun backdrop that adds a lot to the story, obviously. But yeah, they could have been traveling vacuum salesmen. I mean, it's really the conversations that are going on and the dynamics that play with the characters. But you talk about Christoph, who's just so fantastic in everything that he's in. We just had the Super Bowl in the States, and the quarterback Jalen Hurts. When I was watching him, I'm like, wow, he has no wasted movement. Everything is purposeful in what he does. And I feel like this is the same with Christoph. You just see the way that he comes into the scene on camera and the small psychology of his character, the little things that he does. There's no wasted movement in his line deliveries or his interpretation of what the scene should be. I'm sure as a director, you kind of savor at the opportunity to have somebody like that on set, the caliber that he is, and the whole cast, but him, specifically.
Yeah, I mean, someone like Christoph just makes my life so easy. I mean, I can sit back and be like an audience member, really, and just watch him do his, fantastic performance. So not instead of me having to do everything and put on this sort of roller coaster show of pyrotechnics, I can sit back and in between the action sequences and in between the shootouts, I can sit back and like you in the audience just enjoy Christoph doing his great work. And in terms of, body movement, yeah, he's very precise and limited, but he's also, way fitter than his age would suggest. I mean, the film's called Old Guy, and a lot of the time I had to sort of temper him down, remind him that he was supposed to be a little bit older than he's actually, playing. And so he shouldn't run so fast. He shouldn't go up those stairs so fast because, Christoph is actually pretty fit. And, and with a title like Old Guy and a guy who's like losing his powers, I had to sort of sit on Christoph a little bit of his natural ability, really, but to make him actually an old guy.
Yeah, I could see how that would be a problem. You can't be too fit of an old guy. All right,
Yeah.
Christoph, we need you to be, a little bit slower. For you, directing a film such as this, with the action scenes that are involved in it, has your eye for action changed or your philosophy of shooting action changed from some of your earlier films like Con Air, Lara Croft, or what have you to now? Or has action kind of the way that you see it been constant throughout your directing career?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the action sequences are little stories in themselves. So you have the whole film story, and then the action sequence is like a little short film. And if you took that action sequence out of the film, you could run it and you'd understand the beginning, the middle, and the end. You'd understand what everyone was supposed to be doing in it and what the victories and the jeopardy was. And so I still stick to that mantra. But ironically, when I started making films like Con Air, CGI was just sort of starting. So and I was, keen to do everything in camera. So something like Con Air doesn't really have any CGI in it, and then CGI got really big, and then I started to say, well, you know what? I still prefer doing it in camera. So even now, you can do almost anything. Um, I'd still do it all in camera. So I haven't really changed the style I shoot. I still try and do as much for real as possible because I think the audience can tell and they feel the jeopardy more than if it's sort of impossible. I mean, the big CGI films are fantastic, but they're more animations than like live action. And so my philosophy hasn't changed, even though the technology has changed over the years.
Well, I think that too, that I feel like you're right. Audiences now are more appreciative of things that are done in camera practically. Even in big action movies, I think, Tom Cruise obviously hangs off the sides of airplanes and things to the extreme nature, but they're doing it all in camera. And there is something still beautiful about being able to capture that art of cinema like, again, that you do so well in this movie. Now, what another question is balancing action and comedy. Action comedy really wasn't a thing until I really feel like the late 80s into the 90s is when it really took off. And now we accept it as a genre, an action comedy. I feel like everyone, has a funny line in every kind of action movie now. But where do you find that line between we want to make these scenes funny, but we want to make them impactful. We want people to feel the reality of the character situation, but also give them the humor. Is there like an internal monologue that you have with yourself to try to figure out the perfect balance there?
Yeah, I mean, it depends also, there's subdivisions within action comedy, I think. So something like Con Air, when I did it, to me, Con Air was like a quite a surreal comedy. Everyone had a very straight face in it, and to them, everything was real and was happening, even though it was totally outlandish and operatic. But everyone was playing it straight, and that was that stuff. But then when I did Expendables 2, everybody's sort of in on the joke. So, which is sort of more what, was happening, now. And so, even though like Con Air was, an early action comedy, nowadays everybody knows that the audience is in on the jokes sometimes to, extreme amounts, like something where the actors are turning to camera and kind of winking at the audience. I mean, I don't ever go that far really, but I definitely understand which type of film I'm making. So it's either, pure serious action that a character might have humor, but it's when I did The General's Daughter with John Travolta, that was a very dark story, but to make it, palatable and watchable, the detective had a great sense of humor and he's cracking jokes, but they're not to the audience, they're to his fellow characters. So it actually depends what the film is, what, within that subdivision. But I mean, basically, I pretty much put humor in every film I do. So, whether they're action comedies or dramas or whatever, it's very hard to like people that don't have any sense of humor. So you always want your character to have some sort of sense of humor.
You do. Well, this movie balances it great. I really enjoyed watching it. The cast is phenomenal. The script's phenomenal. The story's great. So, Simon, again, congratulations on the movie. Thanks so much for taking the time today. Really enjoyed the chat.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brad. Nice to meet you.
Have a good one, Simon. Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.